Last night, I finally saw The Last Jedi. New Star Wars is out. Stay tuned for my review. So after a 2-year wait, we finally have new Star Wars. Star Wars The Last Jedi came out this week. I was so excited to see this movie, and after seeing this movie, I am honestly saying that this is probably my favorite Star Wars movie. So right now, I'm gonna do my top 5 things that I enjoyed about the movie. This is going to have some potential spoilers, so if you don't want the movie spoiled, please click off this link right now and come back and watch it later. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you can see all my new videos coming out in the future. So in this video, I'm just going to talk about my top 5 things that I enjoy about this movie. I could do a regular whole review going from beginning to end. I kind of don't want to do a completely and total spoilers review video, plus this movie was actually very long. To go through it piece by piece, I feel would be like a 30-40 minute video. So I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to talk about my top 5 things. So the first thing that I enjoyed was the Porgs. So one of the things about the Porgs that I didn't expect to feel was I didn't expect to actually like them that much. After seeing them in the trailer, I was like, oh, Disney put a cute alien space animal into the movie. They'll probably get a little bit of screen time, maybe not a lot, or they'll get too much screen time and it will be completely and totally annoying. But what I have to say about these creatures, these characters, is that I honestly think that Disney and the people over at Lucasfilms used them perfectly. They weren't in the movie too much. They weren't a major plot developing device. Like they didn't have any jobs like the Ewoks or anything like that. They were there for a little bit of comic relief. Most of their interactions have to do with them doing something with Chewie, so them doing something with Chewbacca when it comes to fixing the ship or just interacting with him in a kind of interesting way on this Last Jedi planet. So it was actually really interesting to see what they did with the Porgs. I really enjoyed it. Every single time that they were on screen, I laughed really hard. And I don't think at any point I was like, okay, that's enough of the Porgs, we need to move on, the jokes played out. They used them just perfectly, so I really enjoyed that. So the second thing I enjoyed about this movie was the Kylo Ren, Rey lightsaber battle. This was actually pretty spectacular. One of the better lightsaber fights that I have liked in the Star Wars universe. One of the things that I enjoyed about The Force Awakens and about The Last Jedi is how they have used the lightsaber battles. So obviously you have with the original trilogy, the lightsaber battles, if you look back, they're nothing fantastic. And then with the prequels, they go in a completely and totally different direction. And basically you have Jedi, gymnasts, ninja, acrobats doing sword fights. And not that I think that this is unrealistic, because I honestly think that if you have a group of people who are training their entire lives to use a lightsaber and they can see the future, there's going to be a level of the fact that, yeah, they're probably going to be moving really, really, really fast, and that is going to be something that they are completely and totally capable of, which we saw with some of the lightsaber battles in the prequels. And I'm not saying that's bad. That's actually one of the things that I enjoyed about the prequels. But I like how they've reeled it in The Last Jedi and in The Force Awakens, because it just is not so acrobatic, but the sword fights, the lightsaber fights, are really awesome. And this one particularly was amazing. There were a couple different moments in here where they're doing something playing off of each other, where different things happen. There's one time Rey, this was a big moment where Rey throws a lightsaber to Kylo and Kylo just turns it on and kills the guy behind him. And that was just whoo, jumping out of my chair moment right there. They were fighting back to back at one point and working off of each other. Rey did this badass move where she had somebody choking her behind her, and she had her lightsaber blocking it, and she slipped out, dropped her lightsaber, picked it off the ground, and just slashed the guy. There was just so many cool moments of them fighting in this, and considering what's happening at the moment in this movie, you're kind of rooting for them both to become one and become one entity and start fighting together. So seeing that potential was awesome. I definitely love this part. Let me know what you thought about this part in the comments, because I'm curious to see if you like the idea of Kylo Ren and Rey teaming up or if you hated it. So I'm putting this one as third on my list. These aren't really any particular order, but this one is third on my list. But this one actually is probably the most important to me. It's kind of two things tied together. It's Luke Skywalker and this movement away from the old trilogy archetypes. One of the criticisms that I've had about Star Wars in general when it comes to the idea of Star Wars being science fiction is the fact of the matter is that I feel like the science in Star Wars is very lazy, and then I also feel like the archetypes have been very, very lazy. Dark is bad, light is good is not exactly something that's new, and that has been the thing that has carried on 7 movies to this point, is dark is bad, light is good. That is carried on 7 movies, and I was like, okay, I know we needed this for The Force Awakens. After the prequels, people needed to see something familiar. People needed to have a little bit more faith in this franchise again. So I get that happening. But after that, I was like, okay, I want to see a movement away from this old archetype. I want to see this challenge. I want to see it in some different, in some kind of way. And that in this movie is definitely driven by Luke Skywalker. Luke is very much in critique of the Jedi religion and what it was about. Because of how he has failed with Kylo Ren and the other Jedis that he's been training, he, on this island, has been taking a look back, reflecting on what the Jedi were, and he basically comes to the conclusion that people have put the Jedi on this pedestal. They've put this religion in this way of a legend, and without reproach or critique. And he talks about how the Jedi actually have failed a lot over the history of their existence. They are not all-powerful beings. They are not all-powerful entities. He's talking about it as a religion and how this religion has basically never been critiqued, and that is a huge problem because that gives them a reign for them to do whatever they want, and maybe that's not the best thing. And seeing Luke, one of the most iconic Jedis of this series, go through that mental process, talking to another person about this, I thought was actually really amazing for this whole genre, for this whole universe. I really loved it. It brings in some new perspective. We're not getting the same old tropes over and over and over, so I enjoyed that a lot. Also, you have a lot of stuff going back and forth when it comes to Rey and Kylo when they're trying to figure out where their place is in all of this. They're very much in this like kind of ambiguous gray zone, and they're trying to figure out which way do I go, how does this work, and that was very interesting to me. It wasn't like, oh, okay, the whole movie like, oh, we know that this person's bad, we know that this person's good. It was kind of teasing you through the whole movie, and I really enjoyed that. So my fourth thing, and this is the thing that probably got me to jump out of my chair. This is one of the probably 3 moments where I was just like, nope, gotta leave the chair. This is awesome. Is Force Ghost Yoda. How they kept this under wraps is amazing to me. I heard nothing at all about Yoda being in this movie. Granted, he's a Force Ghost. Granted, that's CGI, which means basically they just need an actor in the studio to do the voiceover part. Shout out to Frank Oz, did the voice of Yoda in this movie one more time. But I got out of my seat when Yoda showed up. It was one of those things that was a perfect cameo. At the right time, it wasn't too much. Nobody knew it was coming, so they were just excited. At least that's how I was. And I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe this happened. More Yoda. Yoda's probably my favorite character in the Star Wars universe. Most of the old, like, kind of wise Jedis are my favorite. So to see Yoda back was definitely one of my highlights. We only got a couple minutes of him, but still, that was totally enough. Just seeing him messing with Luke. He's just messing around with Luke like he was on Dagobah. And that's just, it was so funny. It was great. He's just laughing at different things that he's doing to this Jedi temple. So I really enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought about this cameo. If you liked it, if you hated it, let me know down in the comments. I would love to see what you think. So the last thing and the biggest thing, and one of the things that I have loved about the new movies is everybody's got new Force powers. And let me break down what I mean by that. Everybody is doing awesome, crazy, new things with the Force that we haven't seen in any of the other movies. In the first 6 movies, we kind of have throughout them like the same Force things that you can do. Episode 5 introduced Force Ghosts, so Empire Strikes Back introduced that concept. And then from there, we don't get a lot of new Force powers after that. But this movie and Force Awakens have shown me a lot of things that are new about the Force that people can do. Like one of the big things and one of the things that got me hooked into Force Awakens was when Kylo Ren stopped the lightsaber blast like in midair. That had me go whoa and jump out of my seat. So seeing these new Force powers was awesome. And in this movie, there is no like skimping on giving people, you get new Force powers and you get new Force powers. Like they're just throwing them out like Oprah would be giving stuff away on one of her shows. Like, a couple things stand out in my mind. Kylo Ren and Rey have this new kind of Force connection, which is given to them by Snoke, but it turns out after he actually dies, they still are able to use that connection. They're able to basically talk completely, like they can talk across galaxies. I know you have seen this a little bit from Luke and Vader and Leia, but what they actually can do here is they actually can project themselves across the universes to the point where it seems like they are physically present with each other. It's not just kind of this mind connection, it's where they are physically present, and I thought that that was cool. The second Force power that we got to see was also a big one, where Luke was basically able to make himself a hologram to fight Kylo across the universe. So it wasn't just, hey, we're interacting and talking. Luke is like sending and projecting himself across the universe to have a lightsaber battle with Kylo Ren. I mean, Luke never actually uses his lightsaber against him. He just dodges and does this like Matrix, I'm freaking playing limbo move under his lightsaber, which was just so freaking cool when this happened. I was like, whoa, that was awesome. But like just seeing the power that he can do, he can project this across the universe, I thought was amazing. I definitely think we're gonna be seeing Luke as a Force ghost in the 9th movie. So the last Force power that I thought was amazing was what Princess Leia did. So I originally actually didn't like this. Didn't like this at all. When it happened in the movie, I was like, huh. A person who has never used the Force that we've seen in this, other than talking to Luke that one time in Empire, just pulled off the most badass Force move in the history of Star Wars. And that's what happens here. And after thinking about it and reading some stuff and listening to some people that I really trust with this stuff talk, and one of the things that I've now discovered is that throughout the Star Wars universe, there are people who use the Force who are not exactly Jedi. Or we talk about them maybe using the Force that are not exactly Jedi. One kind of classic one comes to mind is that maybe Han Solo at different parts of flying around the galaxy has used the Force. Han shot first, that's a huge thing. You know, you could very much make an argument that he had the capacity to shoot first just because he's able to use the Force in some kind of capacity even though he's not trained. Like, you see different characters using the Force in some way. They might not be Jedi, but they're using it in some way. And what happens here is Princess Leia pulls off the most badass Force move ever. She is on the bridge of a ship. TIE fighters blow up the windows out of her ship. She gets zapped out into space. In the vacuum, the cold vacuum of space. Like, we all know that works. You get blasted out into space, you freeze, and you die. No atmosphere, you can't breathe, like, you're done. Princess Leia's like, no, I'm gonna use the Force. Wakes herself up and just forces her way, literally, back into the ship. And saves her own life. It was so badass and confusing and like, what? Like, it was crazy. So I really thought that that was cool. Like, in the moment, it's an awesome thing. I was confused just because my mind was like, physics. But at the same time, this movie, this genre, I'm officially putting in the space fantasy realm for me, and I think that that will help me digest some of the stuff that will happen. I'm not gonna call this science fiction anymore. I just think that'll help me, just calling it space fantasy, it'll help me get over some of the stuff that happens. And this is definitely something that if I look at it from that lens, it's just like, okay, Leia is a Skywalker, Leia is badass. So those are my 5 things. What were some of the things that you enjoyed about this movie? One of the interesting things that I'm seeing is that the critics love this movie, but it seems like there's a lot of fans who are like, I don't know how to feel about it yet. I will say this is a movie that needs multiple watches. It does need multiple watches. I will say that. I'm going to be watching this again. I don't know if it's going to be in theaters soon. It probably will, but I'm going to be watching this again. I will let you know. I would recommend doing that because after seeing this, there was so much to digest. It's a pretty long movie, so you might want to get multiple watches, but don't let that discourage you from seeing it. It is a great, great movie. Go out and see it. So like I said, let me know down in the comments, what'd you like, what didn't you like? I would love to talk to you guys all about it. Make sure you like and subscribe, hit that bell down at the bottom. I got new content coming out, like always. We will have different things coming out over the holiday season, so stay tuned for that. My name is Oscar Hampton. This has been your Star Wars review over here at Boldly Nerd. Later days.